Hey, hi. This is Kenny from AVM Cloud. Welcome for today's event that we're going to take our customers. Malik is the IT director from MYDIN, and it's a Malaysia hypermarket business. So I'd like to introduce that Malik has been with us for like past 8 years for his e-commerce that is first on board in AVM Cloud. So we remember that when we've been through that, what is this e-commerce around, and we just thought that, hey, we are the cloud provider. You need a cloud services to provide the mass for the e-commerce, and that's where we started that, right? So I'd like to set the stage today. We'll just talk through the experience, right? And then and maybe we'll just talk on the MCO things.
Sure. Again, thank you for having me. Besides being your customer, let me just tell you a little bit of history about myself. I've joined MYDIN in 2001. At that point, MYDIN, we had about 7 stores. I think about 200 or 300 employees. And each store has its own point of sales. So when I was hired, I was asked to do the IT department for MYDIN. So we started there, you know. So when people ask, where did your digital transformation started? I guess it started almost 20 years back, you know, because it's digital transformation or adopting technology. It's not about, you know, now, just because it's a fancy word. But it's something that most organizations have been going through for the last, you know, as long as they've been using computers and they're putting their process into a technology, right? And we've started off 20 years ago. We've centralized, you know. And as you mentioned, 8 years back, we started to go on e-commerce.
Yeah, our relationship is back longer than that. I remember I see you in USJ, right? That's
Correct,
where your
correct.
hypermarket starts. Right.
Yeah, USJ was our first hypermarket in Malaysia. Right. Again, being a Malaysian-born retail, USJ was our first hypermarket, and we were very nervous. I was personally very nervous. In fact, during the first soft launch, we had a lot of problems. You know,
Those are the days.
Those were the days. But I'm glad you brought up about the cloud e-commerce. So when I first started off with e-commerce, MYDIN, right, we looked at a lot of public clouds, and we decided to go with a local cloud. Why? I guess it's probably because I know the fella lah, easy, you know, we can talk, you know, and they made a very complicated process very easy, you know, and I did not want to put an e-commerce on my service, you know, so that's the key thing. I just put it on cloud, right? Doesn't have to be the cloud, it can be a cloud. Right?
That's AVM Cloud.
AVM Cloud.
Yeah, so that journey really is take us through, right? We learned together with Malik, and we actually learn how this e-commerce progress along with MYDIN's requirement. So that transformation journey really takes our experience together, right? On that. Do you want to share a little bit on why, in specific, right, what VMware clouds that is where AVM Cloud based on, right, to take you through, right? I know you guys also, you are on the VMware platform.
So a lot of people that know me would say that Malik doesn't like cloud, which is very true. I find cloud to be very expensive, right? So I have my own private VMware cloud, which I'm running in my own data center. But that is good for my own internal cases, our architecture servers, our small applications we can run, we can manage. But once we start going something on scale, e-commerce, for example, right? That kind of performance scalability, we need to put on a public cloud, right? Now, when going to public cloud, I mean, I had a look at AWS, I had a look at Azure. I hope I can mention those names. I look at some of the more popular public clouds. Challenge is complicated. It is very difficult. And to be honest, CIOs have a lot of, I mean, we are very busy, you see. We got 1,000 other things to worry about, right? So we want something which is a bit more, I would say, easy to understand. easy to work with, and having a partner, especially a local partner, kind of bridges that gap, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why I selected AVM at that point.
I remember those days. We started really. AVM Cloud started as a IaaS offering, right? Build a server, right? Providing a firewall, remove the racks. This is actually where a cloud really started 8 years back. Over the years, right? When the cloud demands getting more sophisticated, right? There are more managed services. There are more service databases, PaaS offering, the SaaS offerings, right? Even integrating this to the analytic and the AI, it becomes a full-fledged cloud services offerings, which, of course, we are also introducing this to you, right? And hopefully you'll be subscribing it, right? So that really is taking our experience, and as a local service provider, a cloud service provider, we are proud that MYDIN is going through the journey with us, right? So many years, right? So we also want to talk a little bit on the business, that the journey of the customers that have gone through digitizing their e-commerce platform, right? So what are the things that really impact you during the MCO, right? Wouldn't you have an e-commerce platform, or versus what you have already on our cloud today, right? Can you take us through your experience?
Okay. A lot of people would say that, hey, because you have an e-commerce channel, you would have been better off, right? But to be honest, that did not happen. We had a lot of challenges. Just because people couldn't go to stores, there was a sudden high demand for e-commerce, right? We hit, I think, 10 times more than our normal volume. Actually, 10 times more than our peak volume. And because of MCO, we couldn't throw people at the problem. There was no good enough process that could scale, right? Although business was coming in, I think we failed in delivering. Yes, we had, but we could have done a much better job. And I don't think it's a MYDIN only problem. It was a problem that a lot of other Malaysian retail that practices e-commerce also experience. In fact, what we've seen is that we've suddenly had a lot of new competitors, right? Farmers who would never go and sell on e-commerce suddenly are selling products or produce through WhatsApp.
Unprecedented.
Unprecedented, so everybody has suddenly become very digital. And in fact, I think as an industry, we were looking at 3 to 5 years for people to adopt very highly on e-commerce. But what happened, literally within a week, many people learned how to buy online. They literally learned, So when you learn something, chances are you will go and use it again, right? So that's exactly what happened, right? So people are more buying online now, right? Although MCO is over, people are going back to stores. Sales of e-commerce platform has dropped. It's not as high as it was during the MCO period, but it's still higher than before MCO period, right? So a lot of people are buying online. Not everybody is buying online. People are still going to the stores, but those who have a digital, I would say, a digital strategy would survive better. And if this happens again, we can do better.
Yeah, it is actually resonate that I totally agree that the digital strategies for any CIO today that is putting in place is gonna go way ahead, right? It's gonna go ahead and it's not gonna move back, right? Well, I just saw articles that was posted on LinkedIn, right? Given the digital transformation journey, choose 3 of them. Which are the prime mover? CEO, CIO, or COVID-19? Guess the COVID-19 actually pushed this digital transformation, accelerated it.
Oh yeah,
right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So just looking back our business side, who our cloud customers that's on board with us, or the one that is going to be on board, we can see a clear distinctions. A customer that is actually on board already, like MYDIN, right? That spike of the business, whether you can take the load, right? We talk about that during MCO, right? And how to support you on the spike, because this is public cloud, right? And that's where actually we can take a lot more loading as versus a very traditional way, right? But those customers that start their computings is on premises and they wasn't able to respond fast, right? We have been talking about to some of the smaller customers, right? Not retail specifically, but the PCs, they can't even process their payroll simply because their HR is not in the cloud. And so things like this are no accessibility, right? So I think the cloud really depends on the IT strategies, the digitization strategies that you put in place. It actually helps you on accelerating that.
Yeah. I have to add something there. You see, when you mentioned cloud, in a way, in a traditional sense, we also call it centralization, right? So we have been practicing a central system for the last 20 years. So we have one ERP, we have one architecture service, we have one HR software that does everything, and everybody accesses it. In fact, we have close to over 2,000 virtual desktops that we deploy centrally, right? Some of these strategies that we've deployed over time, I guess we were very lucky, because when MCO hit and we suddenly had 300 people working, from home, we were able to support it because virtual desktop, be it here, be it there, be it in China, they can access it, and that's what we enabled, and that really helped.
Those are the early investment that you put in place, right?
Yeah, it finally paid off, surprisingly. Yeah, my boss always asks,
Yes.
when is this going to pay off? So it finally paid off.
Speaking of that, VDI services, we put that gone live before the MCO days, right? And that is actually one of the services that highly subscribed by the subscriber, right? And we improved that after MCO, right? So this is actually one of the fastest pick up business, right, in our cloud as well, right? I totally agree that VDI is never a ROI things, but finally
It's an expensive solution to
the
have.
customer sees that COVID-19 is finally helping this ROI to pay off. And I just told you, right?
Correct.
This our concurrent access licensing will helps you to even reduce the cost, right?
So during MCO, right, when MCO first hit us, right, a lot of people were saying, hey, we have to spend a lot of money, we have to do a lot of things, buy people desktops and everything to enable people to work from home. But in our case, again, because of virtual desktop, because people have desktops at their home, right, and we don't mind just taking out a desktop and please bring it back home, right, the cost to implement remote access to the application, it costs us exactly zero.
Wow.
Right, zero. We did not spend anything more than what we already have been spending to prepare for this kind of, in a way, a disaster, right? So suddenly people can't work in the office. So we didn't spend any more money, right? Yep. We utilized what we had because of the way the architecture was designed, centralized, cloud-based, then we were very quick to deploy. 300 people work from home, no problem, momentai. Right. The only problem is as long as they got internet access at home.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And Malaysia lah. Some got, some don't have. Normal.
Yeah, this is exactly the digital transformation we are talking about. How what your earlier investments on the cloud pay off. So, how do you see this cloud adoptions moving forward? Would that be even more?
I guess one of the lessons of MCO is that cloud is here to stay. Okay. Cloud has a role to play, right? In terms of making sure we're still connected, giving us the service, and most importantly, make sure they can entertain us, with Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that, because otherwise we'll be very bored. Everything comes through cloud service. So cloud has a role to play. And for businesses like us, we have to look at cloud in terms of how do we make sure that we are more resilient. Until vaccines are available, we do not know when the next cycle will hit. And we need to be prepared, right? We need to be prepared in terms of our application delivery. We need to be prepared in terms of a sudden rush to everybody wants to buy digitally, We were not as prepared in the beginning, but when it comes again, we have to be so much more prepared, And I think that's what's going to happen. Right? Cloud is here to stay. Cloud is going to grow, but cloud is not the end-all solution to all. I still have to retain my on-prem also.
Well, I'm not encouraging you for everything to be on the public cloud, right? There is always a on-premises hybrid cloud services.
Hybrid. That's the right word.
That is actually another story that it's going to be very interesting because everybody is going to talk about this hybrid cloud service offering, right? So it's going to be seamless, right? A multi-cloud is here as well that is going to be consuming all kind of cloud services, whether it's on-premises or partially in the public cloud. Right?
True, totally agree. I'm looking at hybrid as a strategy. I'm looking at multi-cloud as a strategy. Because to be honest, you cannot put all your eggs on one basket, so you die. Right? It's better to have work with multi-cloud, utilize the best cost strategy.
This is always AVM Cloud there to hear.
Low cost strategy here.
Well, we are price competitive simply because we are a Malaysian-based cloud service provider,
true.
Right? We can go to your office, right? We can talk to you. We can work the things out,
Correct.
right? That's actually our advantage.
You know what? That's exactly what we relied upon during the MCO. When we were hit with MCO, when we were hit with the e-commerce spike, one thing this fella did was make sure that, Malik, don't worry, your servers are already upgraded, you have super SSDs running, your e-commerce will be okay. So the only thing I didn't have to worry about was the architecture. E-commerce was running. My only problem was I didn't have enough people to pick the goods. That's another problem, lo. Right, but thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You are always...
Sorry, physically distant. Thank you.
Well, just think about that. What if the next wave hits? Would you be doing a better job now in preparations, like you just mentioned that?
Yeah, definitely. Because of the first experience, now we know better. In fact, I have a new system going live tomorrow so that we can do better picking, right? So previously when orders used to come, we used to be more manual in terms of our picking process. But as of tomorrow, it will be fully digitized. It will be fully system driven, right? With locationing and whatnot. So that system is going live tomorrow. And that is to prepare for, hey, if it happens again, when I have a sudden spike, can I handle 5,000, 6,000 orders in a day, 10,000 orders in a day? Hell yeah. That's the goal.
Yeah, this is actually the full digitization's journey, right? Involve cloud, involve IoT, involve all these logistics.
All the toys that's there.
Right. So, speaking of that, actually, our experience also with SME, right? We also see that a lot of small business owners is also thinking about this strategy of how am I, a cloud provider like AVM is able to help them to onboard their business to cloud, right? They may not have a sophisticated IT system, but that few services that is a must for them to continue to run their business, right? Maybe their ERP, maybe their accounting package, or their HR, right? That is very easy job for us to understand, to onboard them to a cloud and provide that 24/7, so that when the second wave hits them, they will be better prepared and improve the business. So I think there are a lot of SMB today don't know where to reach out, right? That's where actually AVM Cloud is actually offering this this advice, right, and help them on board at a very competitive cost, right? So just that, let's talk about these questions. We have these questions, Wana, asking about how do you compare yourself with the global cloud provider such as the AWS, Azure, or Ali, right? That I will pick out the answer. I think similarly, I'm going to ask you the same question later, right? So for us as a AVM cloud service provider that is local, right? We have all the advantage of that is based in Malaysia, right? And you don't pay in US dollar, and we are able to provide the equal services, or I would just say, 80% of the services that is essential in the cloud and is available, right? Probably today is a good time for us to tell the Malaysians customers what we can actually provide, right? from the typical computings all the way to the managed service on board the SMB customers, no problem, right? So what is the real difference of the Amazons or the Azure, right? Other than they are sitting outside the country, other countries' law will be, you know, it got to be based on. We are basically the same, right? And price, right? So I think MYDIN have the same things we're talking about. Malaysian built business, right? MYDIN is typical. You want to share that?
Okay. Let me share something with you, Kenny. When you say what AVM Cloud is providing to SMBs and SMEs, I think probably the first thing you guys are providing is simplicity.
Thank you.
Looking at, I mean, just sign it into an AWS console and look at the millions of options that you have. I've been fixing computers all my life. I can't figure it out, right? It's literally you have to be fully trained. And a lot of SMEs and SMBs do not have the skill sets in-house. They don't really have an IT guy or a cloud guy, you know. So I think local cloud providers, they can approach through a simplicity by making things easier for SMEs to understand.
Thank you for highlighting this.
No, seriously, this is where I see the difference between working with a local player and some of these global players that confuses the hell out of me, right? So that's, I think, the key thing, right? Yes, they do have more interesting solution, you know, like you say, app layering and whatever not. I think this is something where you as a cloud provider will have to aspire towards, right? But is it that important? Yeah, maybe not right now, right? But you need to get there. So I think that's my key point, simplicity.
Yes. So it will be continued that way. Like we also will be catching up. Today we even have the AI train modules that you can use this as API services. That we have facial recognitions. We have number plates, AI modules that is already in place today for you to consume. Right. So these are all the new things that is where we are gonna take the cloud to the next stage.
Correct.
Right? So, Malik, you have a question. How do you ensure delivery on time during MCO or peak time?
Okay. One thing about MCO was that again, we had a sudden spike of orders, right? It's not only system, right? It's also people and process, you know. And to be honest, we were not able to deliver 100% of our orders on time. We actually had a huge amount of backlog. And that again is due to multiple factors. Number one, I don't think we were ready for the spike. We didn't have sufficient system and processes in place, you know, to handle the scale that was required of us. And I think was that we also failed in terms of managing our customers' expectation at that point, right? But that happened, I mean, it happens one time, but hopefully when it comes again, we are able to manage it better. You know, that's why we're putting in systems and processes in place now, so that when there's another spike of orders, when there's another scale required, we can scale together with our customers, or our orders, basically. Yeah. So yeah, first time, not so good. Hopefully second time, much better. Hopefully.
We have another questions for you as well, I think. I'm a traditional retailer. What are the advices for people like us to move on to e-commerce? Maybe you're the expert in this field.
I wouldn't say I'm the expert, but maybe I've, how do you say, failed sufficiently enough to say, you know, what are the pitfalls, right? Going online, it can be easy or it can be very hard, right? Depending what kind of retail you are. There's a whole lot of process. There's a lot of technology involved, right? But it's not so complicated. I would say if you're a small-time retailer, you have very unique products, merchandise, look at least listing in marketplaces. Use Facebook as your advertising medium. Use Instagram. Use TikTok to advertise yourself, you know. Say, I'm a brand, you know, tell I'm selling this. You need to get the word out there. You need to take good pictures of your product. You need to describe your product, right? So it's an effort. You have to have the effort. You need to have stamina, right? And you need to just do it. You know, do not be afraid. It's not so difficult. Neither it is very easy. but it's not impossible. Can do one.
Great.
Kenny?
I have a question here. How do I start to use the cloud, right?
Don't.
Well, don't, you will run out of business as well. But I think starting with AVM Cloud, like you say, right? For the SMB customers, it's easy for us to onboard you, right? We have people that is locally skilled, locally be able to access directly to you and help you to onboard, right? That I think is very important for any SMB business who does not even have IT. They don't even know the licenses well, correct? So this is, I think, one of the advantage of being AVM Cloud customers.
And I guess I can go back, tie into my first question with regards to cloud and e-commerce, right, for retailers. Instead of being very complicated, I guess starting it simple is better. And I think this is where I found AVM Cloud to be very simple to deal with, to understand. And I think this is where, for a lot of SMB or SMBs, is a good first step. Go local first. Then you go for the more complicated ones out there, and you know who they are.
So let's sum up on what today we have just discussed about. So we started about your cloud journey with us, and then we also talked about the MCO, right? That how the learning, right, of this, and we also talk about this the second wave. What if come? How our business is more prepared, and so is MYDIN's business. How do you get more prepared on that, right? Then we have a few questions that is coming in that how the SME will help them to onboard them, right? But AVM Cloud, just add on to it, right? It's not only the SMB, right? For the enterprise customers, we have been helping, right? People that is already on board, right? We also have the largest this online delivery, right? The customer is on board on us on the day one. Actually, they just ramp out their business in prepare for the MCO, and of course the hybrid cloud customers that we have today are the large corporates that they want to be preferred to be safe, that is on premises, but some of the services they are able to hybrid this to the public cloud, right? So I thank you, Malik.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.